These are some of the YouTubers logo that I realistified in this video, starting with this logo's channel icon. First, let's find out who this is. Okay, it's a snail without the shell. Let's just find something which will fit here. Let's get rid of the background. That's better. And this thing will probably fit here because it is slightly different from his upper layer. For the tail, I'm going to use this tail. Now his mouth. See this plain skin texture? Yes, I'm gonna use this one for my design. Now it start getting shape. Let me just do some correction because the image that I found is not in high resolution. Time to give this guy some dimension. That means some shadows here and here as well. To make his mouth roundish, guess what? More shadows. Okay, let's work on his eyes. Same skin texture with some more work like that. And then another one. Some more shadows. Let me just place it at his spot like that. The shadows to make it a part of this slug. For making shadows, most of the time I use exposure layer, but sometimes I also use black color. Now comes the interesting part, the saliva that is coming out of his mouth. For that, check this out. I learned this technique couple of weeks ago, so allow me to share it with you all. First, make a shape that you want it to add. In this case, that shape is this one. Then lower the opacity. It's up to you how much transparency you want. Make some shadows on a different layer according to the shape, just to give it a 3D look. And the highlight with a white line, but this time with 100% opacity. And the last thing is shadows of the saliva because it is touching the skin. And voila, there you have it. This pattern should be present here because this slug is just turning his upper part, I guess. So there should be a continuity. See, looking quite good. And these two spots, because they are present in the icon. For these, I have just increased the brightness. And after a little correction, this is our first realistic design. Now it is looking cute. Alright, the next one is from PopularMMOs. Now we have a lot of things going on here. So let's just start with his helmet. For that, I have this simple helmet. Let's see if it can fit here. Or maybe I can just use it in parts. Something like, okay, forget about it because it is not working. Now I have to take a longer route. That means now I'm gonna trace every single shape and fill them with textures and some other things. Starting with this shape, see, like that, and the helmet. To fill this thing, I found this matter texture and this thing to make this shape 3D. Same texture for this one, and this should be dark because less light is hitting that part. Let's work on the helmet. Same metal texture. Now I have to find which portion should be in the dark as it is in the original logo. See, like that. This black shade inside the helmet. Shadows to make some corners. Stop here. I want to point out one mistake that I made here. I used shadows to make corners of the helmet instead of highlights. So you will see some changes in the final result. Now back to the video. Now what? His eyes? Now it start looking something. Alright, his hands. Again, same thing. Tracing the shape so that I'll have the desired area to fill the textures. Shadows where there is no light hitting. And it is done. In this particular part, I want to add some portion of cloth to make it feels like it is wearing some kind of cloth beneath this armor. Something like that. And it should be different in the color. Okay. Now I'm going to speed up some things because it is the same process over and over again. Few small details that I want to point out here. Touching shadows for these shapes because they are touching each other obviously. And this white line with overlay blending mode to make these corners stand out. Now this words. Perspective is different but after a few little tweaks, I can make it work. Same sword in his second hand and this tiny skull on the sword's handle. Same skull on his hand and on his helmet too. Now his cape. For that, I found this masterpiece which will perfectly fit here. This has to be blue as it is in the logo. Touching shadows of the night. As we can see, his eyes are bright blue. So let's add some glow around his eyes. A white highlights to enhance its glow. Now we have some kind of light source. That means I have to add highlights where this light will hit. Some glow for the sword this smoke kind of effect for his eyes. I think it is complete now. And for the background, I added the exact same thing that is present in the original logo, that is the mountains with some kind of reddish orange environment. I added few more mountains to add some depth, few particles here and there coming from a huge fire that is burning somewhere behind these mountains. Then I did few adjustments on the night to blend it in this environment. Finally, after little tweaks, here is your final result. It was quite challenging and time consuming, and you know what, I like it more without the sword in the background. So what's your take on this? And the last one for today's video is from jacksepticeye, which is basically an eye having some kind of disease. I mean, you get that feeling by just looking at it. For this big eyeball, I have this. Yeah, that's the same eyeball that I used for Slogo's design. Again, this should be in the center like that. And when I'm making a realistic version of an eye, how can I forget about this detail? Let's make it blue, something like this. The reflection in the eye is extremely bright and I don't want that. So let me just think. Got it. I can just flip this lens part vertically and erase the unnecessary part. See, that's what I was talking about. White lines to make the harsh highlight because it is reflection, so it should be harsh. Now the shadows around the edges to make it spherical, and this should be green because it is green. To make it even more veiny. Veiny? Is that even a word? Anyway, for that I found this thing. I can just put it like that. Now the human flesh, which is connected to the eye. Again, shadows to make this shape a shape. I mean the shape which has some dimension. Now I can fill it with this tongue PNG just to give it a texture. After that I did some research and I found color of the eye, whether it is red or green. It's only present where the flesh is connected. So I made it subtle from the other areas. Now we can say that it is looking better than before. And this eye is out of the eye socket. That means blood should be there falling from this flesh part. You splash on the eyeball itself and this whole thing should be green. I mean the flesh and the blood drops. After making little tweaks here and there, here is a realistic version of the original logo. Now you tell me which one is your favorite out of these three. I am out.